Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Life and Gun podcast. All right, guys. So transfer news. All right, guys. So we've been linked to a couple of players over the last couple of days. This is Arsenal Football Club. I don't know how many of these rumors are true, but I know based on the situation that we find ourselves as champions, as a club with apparently infinite resources, based on that supposed or proposed Vinny deal, that we have a lot of money in the bank that naturally our name is going to be associated with a lot of players this season and may seasons to come as well. But anyway, so let's jump into some of these supposed transfer targets. So we'll be linked with Kwanzaa, Daryl Kwanzaa, Ezri Kwanzaa, um, Kuti Romero. We know that one is false, so we can put that one to the side. Victor Osimhen, um, a couple babblings about Pio Esposito, according to ESPN America. We've been linked to a player who plays for another player who plays for Bayer Leverkusen, um, Kofane. We've been linked to Julian Alvarez, um, Ivan Feshneida, which has died down a little bit, so we can also push that one to the side. But let's talk about the ones that are more probable. So let's talk about, first of all, let's get the Julian Alvarez one going first. So Julian Alvarez is a player that wants to leave Atletico Madrid. There's an unwillingness on the part of Atletico Madrid to let the player go to their direct rivals, which is understandable. Barcelona won the league last season. You definitely don't want them to go again um, by strengthening the cause, right? So you don't want a player of the magnitude and the capacity, quality of Julian Alvarez going to Barcelona. If you were to sell them, which they're unwilling to sell because they need that player. I think the only other striker is Sorloth, and he's a decent striker, but he's nowhere near the level of Julian Alvarez. Um, that they're desperate to keep him. But if they were to allow him to leave, the financial package would be enormous, as well as he would have to accept leaving La Liga and coming back to the English Premier League. Obviously, he was from a family of Man City, but I think at this point, Arsenal is the only club. If he were to leave and come back to England or anywhere in the world, anywhere else, um, that could probably afford that deal, um, and that he would probably be willing to go right now. Um, let's talk about the Ezri Konsa. So Ezri Konsa, obviously, player for Aston Villa. Aston Villa played against Paris Saint-Germain 2 days ago or a day and a half ago, depending on where you are in the world, in the Europa Super Cup. So it's the game against the Champions League winner versus the Europa Cup winner. Um, PSG won narrowly. It was a really good game. A game where it could have gone either way. It could have gone to penalties like the Champions League final against Arsenal. But he was left out of that game. So naturally, you know, naturally a person can say, well, that's telling. He's definitely destined for transfer. Maybe Aston Villa don't want to risk the player. Maybe they're looking forward to that 60 mil to reinvest. As Aston Villa has been selling a lot of players recently, Yuri Tillemans, etc. So, maybe they're trying to do a revamp of the squad, put younger players in, because to be fair, their squad was getting a little bit aged. So, it probably is, sensible to probably go in that direction anyways, um, just to keep their squad fresh. But anyways, all of this boils down to the fact that we won't have William Saliba. If William Saliba was fit and ready to go, then I don't think we'll be linked to any of these players really. And I feel like if anything, we would be looking for a right back, because that is, before Saliba's injury, was our primary point of concern with the fitness and injury, consistent injuries of Ben White and Yuri and Timber. Um, so on to Gerald Kwanzaa. So okay, so Kwanzaa is a player that is very young. Obviously, he's 23. plays over there in Germany in the Bundesliga with Bayer Leverkusen. Um, I won't lie, I have not watched a lot of him. I know he is formerly of Liverpool, and he went on loan to Bristol. But I personally, and then he was sold by Liverpool to by Leverkusen. Obviously had a good season because he was called up to England to play in the World Cup, which is no easy feat, because there's an abundance of talent in England. But I personally haven't, I don't watch the Bundesliga that often. I know that Bayer Leverkusen is a big team. We played them in the Champions League. What was it? The quarterfinals, I believe. And they're always there or thereabouts. In the Bundesliga, they've historically always been there and thereabouts for that title. And have won that title. I don't think he was there when they won it. But anyways, Premier League winner with Liverpool. Um, Obviously he wasn't a starter, but he was in that squad. In the Arne Slot squad. Personally, what I've seen of him in the World Cup, because I did watch England, because Arsenal obviously has a lot of England players, was a player who has talent, a player who, if coached properly, has a high ceiling, or a higher ceiling than where he's at right now, or a higher capacity than where he's at right now, I should say. Um, a little bit rash, but that might be down to the fact that he's a young man. But you kind of want to quell some of that, that irrational behavior, because that kind of outlook and attitude can dismantle what you're trying to achieve, which would be the Premier League title or any other title. So that would be something, but I'm pretty sure that would be something that would be easily nipped in the bud if he came to Arsenal. I'm pretty sure the players around him would get into his ears, as well as the coach, the defensive coaches and the manager. Will get that point across to him. Um, who would I prefer to sign? Ezra Konsa, Kwansa. Um, it's really hard to say those two names back to back. But if I had a choice, a really difficult one, I'm more inclined to say Daryl, just because, I mean, Ezra is 28, right? I mean, in the next 2 seasons, we're going to be wanting to look at, we're going to want to move him on, and then we're in a situation where we have another player to sell, and you don't really want to. It's a fucking headache, to put it bluntly. You kind of want to keep that conveyor belt moving. Get players out at a relatively young ages. You don't want to be bringing them in and then moving them on over a short period of time. So it's better to have players, that you can have in a project for a longer time and then move them on. I think that is better from a value proposition sort of way, and also for the project, the stability of the project, to have players in a project for a longer period of time as opposed to here today, gone tomorrow. But from my here and now, obviously Ezra Konsa. Um, I did a video yesterday about Marley Salmon, and questioning whether we even need to get a central defender. I still think we do, obviously, because we don't want to put that mountain of pressure on a 16-year-old. If we think that Dal Kwanzaa is young, then 16 versus 23, that's 7 years of time, right? So 7 years of experience, 7 years of development, and everything else. So we definitely don't want to put that pressure on him. But I feel like, um, for the here and now, Ezra would make the most sense. And so, here comes that you can't have a cake and eat it. It's so annoying. But William Saliba is not going to be out for the entire season. And for that, I feel like Daryl Kwanzaa is probably the better direction to go in. You know, Play for a month or two. We still have players who can make shift. We can also, put him in right back. Move Ben White, who has hamstring injuries and all type of other injuries, in to pair him with Gabriel. Those two have played together before, so we can chop and change. Tapie, Calafiore, Mosquera, so forth and so forth, and so I feel like Daryl Quansa would be the better purchase based on the evidence. All right, so let's talk about strikers now. Victor Osimhen, Pio Esposito, and Kofana. So basically, when Mikel Arteta talks about players that Arsenal are looking at, he's talking about players who are level raisers. That's where Arsenal is right now in terms of a project. We're not a new project. We're not getting youngsters in to get them to a point in the next 3 to 4 years to be competing at the highest level. We are at the highest level and we're winning. No, we're going to big finals. No. So we have to get players that are indicative of where we are right now. Um, and with that being said, the market becomes more and more niched. You're not going for any and every player. You're going for the top 1%. The Vinicius Junior, the Julian Alvarez, the Victor Osimhen, if you want to throw him in there. Players of this, you know, Bradley Barcola, if you want to put him in that category, um, and so forth and so forth. So it is very, very, very difficult. A lot of teams don't want to lose these players because, as I said, if you're a top 1%, then why would you want to lose a player as a top 1% if you want to remain competitive? You want to hold on to these players. You want to have that level of retention in your squad, right? Especially for these players who are basically impossible to replace. Um, but these three strikers, I've looked at their age profiles. So the only one that stands out is Victor Osimhen. I think he would be the best option right now for where we are. Um, but with saying that, guys, Pio Esposito and Kofano, who have identical age profiles and also have identical numbers in terms of goals and assists and just overall contribution. If I had to choose between Pio Esposito and Kofano, I would choose Kofano just because he's a little bit more athletic in terms of running and everything else is equal. So you want to have more athletes in your team. Um, they seem equally as strong though. They seem like they like two towering, powerful centre forwards. Um, of which Victor Osimhen is also a tall, towering centre forward, strong, combative athlete, but he's older. He has more experience. Won the league title with Galatasaray, won the league title at Napoli. So he comes with that experience. And like I said, where we are right now, we don't want youngsters necessarily. We don't want old folks, not a retirement home, but we want people who are ready for the here and now. Because guys, we have to. Arsenal has never retained their Premier League title, and so that is the aim. We aim to put that bogey behind us and go on to win two-peat, three-peat, four-peat, five-peat, right? So from that point of view, I think Victor Osimhen would be a better option. Guys, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. What do you think about these targets that we've been linked to? For one, um, would you suggest is there another name out there that we don't know about that you think is better for the team in terms of capacity, age profile, ability, and so forth? Who would you sign if you had the ability to sign? Who do you think is more fitting to the squad? All right, guys. So I'll leave it. That's the transfer roundup so far. Um, I'm gonna do a video, create a lineup for the Man City Community Shield game on Sunday, and also going to do a post-match reaction video for that same game. So look out for that on Sunday, guys. Anyways, guys, thanks for joining me on another episode of Lifelong Gunner Podcast. Peace and love. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share with a friend. All right. And I'll see you on the next one.